All right, everyone, we are here with an AQ run of map 8 on day 2. I was pretty busy on day 1 and kind of just wanted to document the paths I was taking for the first time, just to give people some idea of how node interactions work and maybe some possible counters. This hood here is not an actual path fight. It's one of the surrounding, let's say, mini or shared fights. He's got bleed vulnerability, so his health is going down really quick with Claire. But he also has ebb and flow heavy, which means I have to land a heavy attack to remove the protection. And then he has ticking time bomb, which is that little orange power sting looking thing. And really all that means is that you can do a well-timed block till you get to about your 6th one, and then you should probably hit into his block to remove a few. So you saw me take away 2 of those there. If you allow that to get to 7, you're going to take a burst of damage. So we're about a minute in. Hood's going down pretty quick. So I'm actually comfortable with this. It doesn't look like it's going to be a timeout at all. But as I'm sure you've experienced or heard, the AI has been kind of junky, passive. I don't know what the heck I was trying there, but we missed. Paid for it. But yeah, anyways, just got to kind of play it slow. The AI is not really giving you an option of playing it fast. And down he went. So we're going to speed up. Green Goblin has the same set of nodes here. So I'm just going to let that play through. All right, so I have path 2 in section 1. It has a build up called heavy baiter, I think. And we were worried when we saw this node that you might actually have to interrupt the heavy attack while it's charging or while it's in the action, so in the middle of it. But there were a few champions on this path that are one-hit heavies, so we weren't sure if that made any sense. So we found out that you can wait till the heavy is done and just quickly retaliate to remove the protection or the damage reduction. So polka dot power, only way to gain power. So obviously you want someone with a debuff or damage over time, and then rise to power. So you just have to be mindful based on who you're fighting that they're going to power gain after you knock them down if they hit into your block or hit you, obviously, if they hit you. But you can see here, Claire's a good option. Just putting in work. We're at 50% with almost a minute. We're at about 45 seconds. That was a huge chunk of health there in Hellfire. And the crossfight does help a little bit. It extends the debuff timer. The timer on your debuffs, so Claire can spank it. I'm gonna let the rest of this path play out. I guess I did not record the Shang-Chi fight. Shang-Chi is on this path. Just be careful about him finishing combos into your block. Obviously, it's unavoidable if you want him to throw a heavy, but it might just benefit you to hit into his block a couple times and see if he retaliates with a heavy. What you don't want is that stun Wushu or the unblockable Wushu to get triggered through your block and then him just annihilate you. Also, spider-gwen's on here, so I'm not gonna take her with Claire. I actually take her with Venompool. So I'll let this play to that fight. All right, so here's Spider-Gwen. I'm gonna take her with Venompool. Was technically kind of worried about how this fight would go, since I won't be gaining any power. And I was actually pleasantly surprised, as you will see. So I used the mutation pre-fight so that hopefully our first buff and the most potent is the mutation buff, and there it is. So now I don't have to worry about her ever evading the entire fight. And you're just gonna see the damage is actually good. I should mention, I did not boost for this. I kept forgetting. And day 2 I had the opportunity to, because I didn't have war boosts get in the way, but this whole clear is without boosts. So I'm gonna let this play out. It's pretty straightforward with Venompool. And now that that played out, here is Longshot with the same notabilities that Hood and Green Goblin had. So just staying in bleed takes care of this, or staying in blood. So I wanted to mess around with Nimrod using Venompool. I took that crossfight that you saw versus versus Red Goblin, and it increases his power combat rate, which I actually found out hurt me more than I wanted it to help. Ideally, in a perfect aggressive AI and maybe a longer timer than 3 minutes, I would build to SP3 with a good combo and a few buffs, and then get my vicious buff and then drop SP3 and then try to kill him with the degen. But because of how passive the AI can be, and you'll see it in this video, it gets hard after the SP3 to either hit into his block or get him to attack you. And therefore it makes it harder to get the spicy meter to 100 to pause the degen buff. So when I realized that after this SP3 coming up, I wanted to spam SP1s, and that crossfight ability was preventing me from flowing into SP1 without having to stop and then block and then bait this, that, and the other. So here's the SP3 attempt, and you're gonna see he just kind of turtles after this. And the degen just doesn't stick around long. Actually didn't just turtle, he backed the heck up. And I couldn't get it paused. So, unfortunate. Now I decided, heck, I just maybe want to just throw SB1. Or maybe let's try it again. We're at a minute and a half, so we've basically wasted time with how passive the AI wants to be about throwing specials and attacking. And then here, I just decide that my parry timing's terrible. So enjoy the show of getting punched in the face. I actually took the second Nimrod Mini today on day 3 with Venompool, so I got the groove, but that SB2 was to get back to SB1 to try and regain some health. And you see there, I immediately went to SB2 because of that crossfight, so dang it. And then coming up, right about here, I think it's after, again, I just fail blocking or trying to parry. We're at 30 seconds, and I think we've barely done 30%. That was a big hit, though. Yeah, there it is. Failed block and KO. So, Venompool might work. Another option that I played around with, since I didn't need her later, was Claire. So you can just stay in blood, build power, heal, nullify buffs. Actually can be a pretty safe fight. I believe I'm saying F it, and I'm just going to go ahead and do an SB2 in Hellfire. Nope, there it is. Okay. Back in blood. And I think you can end this fight with enough health that your timeout will just put you at half, and then you just repeat the process. So if needed to be done in a crunch, or because you don't have any other options, Claire could be a sustainable option here. As long as, again, you learn how to parry. All right, so I had path 10 in section 2. This path didn't seem that serious with a robot because it has delirium. I was kind of just worried about mighty charge and the block damage. But what you're going to see here with this Wolverine fight is that it's actually not at all that bad of block damage. So I'm just going to treat him like a rhino that doesn't go unblockable on his dash and try to land a few cheeky light attack parries. And if he's not going to give it to me, I'll take advantage of the crossfight and hopefully get an intercept in where we have a fury buff that we gain. The only thing to really keep in mind here is that if you do end up getting the disorient there, like I just did, that if you're trying to parry, your parry might fail. But also remember that because it's mighty charge, the parry will fail there too. So just be cautious. I can see how this fight would go south if you keep expecting your parry to land and it doesn't. But you can see here, 50%, 1 minute in, I haven't lost much of my health at all. So this path is not as bad as I thought it was going to be from a block damage standpoint. So what you'll see is that I actually get Gilly ramped on this fight, and then I just maintain ramping her for the rest of the path. So I'm gonna let this play out for you guys. And then on day 2, I decided to take this Taskmaster while ramped. And since it has power alternator, there's no way around getting out of here ramped again. So just enjoy watching G99 beat on Taskmaster. All right, and then my section 3 path is path 4. I did not record taking cap here at the start, so pretty sure that's all block damage from the prior fight. Anyways, taking this with a small champ, you're not supposed to glance. All I do really here, same thing I did in the other section, and that's just re-ramp Guillotine if she's not already ramped. That's about it. You will see I end up getting KO'd during Storm, but that's because ramped Guillotine ends up finishing her before I can get to SP3. So I was paying attention to my power and blocking her SP1, but because of Fractured Guard, I guess the damage through block was a lot more than I was expecting, and it killed me, and I was not paying attention to my health. So instead of dodging the last hit of her SB1, I ended up blocking it, and it kills me. So I'll let this play out too. Nothing really to this. I mean, it's just beat him and bait it. So. Okay, and then a lot of these shared fights here, especially on the left side, sorry. I'm not sure on the right. I gotta check that. On the left side, they have Conflictor and Power Snack. So 2 ways of gaining power through placing a debuff and through activating a buff. So Not a big deal here for Purgatory because both of her special attacks are easy to dodge. So if you accidentally push her to SB2, it's fine. But just keep in mind the nodes before the bosses here have these attack nodes. They do have enhanced SB1 as well. So expect some unblockable and some increased damage from them. All right, and then the last thing I kind of want to showcase is Venompool against this S99. It can be a pain in the butt because of Mercy, but he also has ticking time bombs, so it's a fight against the wind kind of sailing thing. Fight against the wind, work with the wind. Fight against the wind, work with the wind. I think the game plan here would be to fight normally to get to your SP3. Build Mercy along the way, but don't really rely on parry. And then when you're ready to drop the SB3, parry. So that your damage over time out of the SB3 has its normal damage and isn't hindered by the resistance. One thing to keep in mind, this is a duped S99, so there's going to be burst damage from ruptures if you let him get to SP3. And then, let him get to SB2 and place a wither on you, and then let him hit into your block. So best practice here is to just constantly bait out his SP1 and just avoid the SP2. So here you go. I'm building to SP3. I'm going to push an SP1 to bait it out. And now I'm going to try and time a parry. As you saw earlier, my parry sucked. And I had already had the vicious buff on me, so dropping this. Now we're going to try and fight for some blocked hits on either side or some actual hits. And hope to pause this bleed debuff. So it looks like I threw it right when the meter was about to be 100, so we've got it paused. Now we're going to try and pause it some more. And we have the mutation buff, so we don't have to worry about the evade after knocking him down. And there's that wither that I said to avoid. Here I was trying to be aggressive in hitting, obviously. We're doing some nice damage now that we finally managed to pull this off. The item use on day 2 for me was only on mini bosses and this S99, just trying to test out options. And now that that bleed debuff ended, we're gonna see if we have time for a second to just finish him off. So here we are, SB3, he throws SB1. Now we're gonna try and land a parry and a heavy. Oh, nope, didn't do the heavy that time. So potential to do more damage if we heavy before doing this. And then this should be pretty much it. We did take a rupture burst since we went down to 0 power. And down he goes. So Venompool might be a good option. I've seen Diablo, I've seen some others. Just got to get past the passive AI. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching day 2. This is really just for me to document matchups and how this path goes, just so that if anyone asks in the future who has never taken it, and be like, here's the video. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys at the next war video.